Hello guys, and welcome to today's video. In today's video, we are looking at the deck I've affectionately named the Infinite Item Lock Grass deck. Shout out to Jonas at our locals who went 3-0 with this deck or a very similar deck to it and inspired us to build this one. The whole point of this grass deck is the Meganium line using the Quick Ripening Herb to recycle a boss Torterra endlessly. This is the main attacker of the deck, and this little guy is really powerful, especially if all your guys are evolutions. You're hitting about 200 to 250 pretty frequently with Torterra. Now, of course, everything else in this deck is kind of there to support Torterra. And of course, since it's affectionately named the Item Lock deck, you have to think, well, there's Item Lock in it then too. Yeah, there is. Budew is there with Itchy Pollen to give your guys time to set up. Now, of course, you could say, oh, Item Lock's all that. I can still play supporters, I can still play tools, I can still evolve my Pokemon and use their abilities. But this is kind of Grass's version of WoB. You're not expecting to win. People have answers to WoB. You can play around Budew, but your goal here with Item Lock is to slow down your opponent and prevent them from playing things to get their board up fast. This Budew and Item Lock here is just to slow down the pace of play and to force your opponents into tricky situations, because now they no longer have VS Seekers, they no longer have those Pokeballs to search out and set up their board. Their tag calls are done. So Item Lock with Budew early is the main goal, unless they have a really powerful attacker that can frequently kill it, like in the last video that we played of this, where you can see my opponent chose not to Budew because Budew was very much dead. Now, because of Quick Ripening Herb being a free rare candy, insta play, it's old school rare candy, you could have played that card turn 1. That's insane. We actually have some very strange lines here. For instance, we don't have Gloom, we just have Oddish and Vileplume, and this guy is supposed to come out once you have your Groudle and your Bayleaf and your Grovyle kind of set up so you have your whole board engine online. Budew is just their early game to stall. Vileplume is here to lock up late game to prevent your opponent from playing things like Field Blower to get rid of your Luxcape Torterras, to prevent them from having VS Seeker Hex so they can play their items one more time. Vileplume is here just to make their lives miserable and routing nigh impossible sometimes. That's the real reason why there's Item Lock in this deck, is to make your Torterra as big as possible and as impossible to kill as much as possible. So that is our Item Lock. Of course, there's other ways we make Torterra infinitely fat and hard to kill. Of course, here is Sceptile. Most of the time, this is your backup Sunshine Grace, which is, Groudle's beautiful ability, Sundredge Shell, get a grass Pokemon once during your turn. Grovyle has the same, and he's level ball searchable. He just has lower HP, and he's slightly easier to get out. But late game, Nurture and Heal. Once during your turn, you may attach a Grass Energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. How many energy does it take for Torterra to attack again? 2, I tell you, 2. Late game, you have Sceptile, and at this point in time, you have Recycle Energy out on the field again. With Sceptile's Nurture and Heal and Recycle Energy in your hand from the last turn your Torterra is killed, you instantly have a powered up Torterra again. 190 HP. Again, out of nowhere, as long as your opponent doesn't hex you. And let me remind you, because your Vileplume's up, they only get 1 hex, and they have to choose to use it very wisely, otherwise they're dead. And if they don't play hex, good luck to them. We have a couple other supports. Roserade is in here because Le Perfume is just that good extra consistency to make sure you get the missing piece of the puzzle. And because we have Le Perfume in this deck, we also play Gladion, because with La Perfume and Gladion, you can essentially guarantee you can get any card you need off of prizes. And of course, we have Beautify's Stroke Straw again. This is just Wurmple Beautify. If you have an extra turn with Meganium, you set this up, get extra consistency, you're not going to dead hand anymore. And the same can be said of Levani. Levani is your last way to make Torterra impossibly bulky. Torterra with 190 HP and 40 damage reduction is kind of crazy. So yes, those are the Pokemon. We have full lines of Meganium, Sceptile, Torterra, and Roserade, and Stage 1, Stage 2 of Vileplume, Levani, and Beautifly, because Meganium's Quick Recommending Urge. These three guys aren't the priority. These two are. This is. And the Sun Chill and Sunshine Grace are just such important abilities to make sure your deck is functioning. We just have them there. That is the Pokemon. And of course, because we're an item lock deck, we don't play many items. The items we basically play are here to say, hey, we need a setup as quickly as possible, and then we're gonna just rely on supporters the rest of the game. So let us look at the music selection of items we do have, and it's a Pokemon search pretty much. Here we have Nest Ball, Quick Ball, Buddy Poffin, Met Ball, which also can get Grass Energy, which is really nice to make sure you power up Torterra, because early game you usually have to do 2 turns back to back of attachments to let your Torterra attack. Heavy Ball, make sure get something out of the prizes. Ultra Ball, Evolutions, Level Ball. Again, this Level Ball gets Grovyle, Grottle's too fat, but Grovyle can get your Grottle, and then you get your whole board set up, and Evil's Incense, of course. Now, the other 3, there's only 3 other items. All of this was early game setup. Rare Candy, oops, Bayleaf is prized. Oh, I want to get early item lock up, or I need one of my guys like Beautifly up early so I can draw out of this dead hand. Rare Candy is there. Tag Call, because Goose Hala is that busted, and Revitalizing, or so if early on you have to lose Torterra or you want to recycle another turn of budew, this is the card for that. That is all the items we play. This is leagues lower than most decks, because we are an item lock deck and we're planning to have Vileplume up for like half of the game. Of course, we play 2 stadiums. These are the setup stadiums. Artisan, then Turffield. Turffield is fantastic. Roserade, Grottle, Grovyle, Evolutions. This is an evolution-based deck. Turffield feels fantastic, and Artisan is there for early game consistency. And of course, we do play the Goose Hala package, and that's why I have Tag Call, but we have quite a few items here. For flexibility of movement, we have Air Balloon and Floatstone, like you always do. And then here are the tools we put on Torterra that we either force them to Field Blower off or force them to walk through because we have turned off their items. Lux Cape gives Torterra plus 100 HP and 290 minus 40 damage potentially if Levani's up. That is scary. And Rescue Scarf also means we don't have to play Revitalizer or a supporter to get Torterra back. We just get him back instantly. So these are the 2 items that Torterra loves. Now let us look at our supporters. Here is the bulk of our deck. Of course, we have Gladion in here because Roserade can just get it out when you need something off of your prizes. There's not many decks that play Gladion that I like to play Gladion in, but this is one of them. Here is our Precision Search and Tag Call cards. So because we have Tag Call in this deck, we have 3 Tag Call supporters. Goose Hala, which gets us Turfwood Stadium, which is huge. Lux Cape or Pivot with Floatstone, Air Balloon, and we have quite a few special energies this can also target. We have Recycle, Capture early game to get the board set up. Reversal, you're probably going to give up a prize early, so 1 energy attachment to power up your Torterra is massive, and that is it. We have 3 special energies and 4 regular grass energies. We're planning on recycle energy the whole game as soon as you find it. So Goose Hala is pretty nice here because it guarantees you early recycle energy, which will just stay active the whole game. Malilana is here as well for the switch heal on a Torterra. That is crazy insane. We're basically putting up boss Torterra, and yes, they can gust around it, but chances are most decks are 2-shotting Torterra, so this makes it a 3-shot sometimes which is crazy scary. This deck does like to play behand. You're expecting to give up a couple of prizes, but once you got the loop up, you got the Meganium, you got the Torterra, you play things like Lana and Luxcape, and suddenly you have a very good chance of winning the game. And of course we have Cynthia and Caitlyn. This is our soft version of VS Seeker. Using Sinlin, we can get back supporters as well as a little bit of draw. And of course, speaking of VS Seeker like cards, we don't play that in this deck. We also have Lusamine, which means we can recycle 2 supporters late game, something like a Gust or an Acerola, something to make our board incredibly advantageous because they're not one-shotting Torterra. We can drop a turn to Lusamine. And we aren't playing items at this point in time, or my opponent hand is full of items. Of course, we got Ball Guy. As you saw, almost all our items were balls. Ball Guy feels absolutely fantastic because with Netball, we have the absolute flexibility to go get a basic from prizes, go get grass energy, or just get evolutions to set up our board. Ball Guy feels absolutely fantastic. Colorist Tenacity, recycle energy or grass energy, and Turf-Filled Stadium or Otterzon early on. Absolutely wonderful in this deck. Arvin is our other precision search card. We get a tool, Float Stone. If we're early game is usually what he goes for, but once it's late game, that is Rescue Scarf, Luxcape. And the item early game is wonderful, but in the late game, you're just kind of going for the big bulky tools. We have a good draw in this deck, but it's not a ton, because remember, late game, you're relying on Beautifly to draw through your deck and search for your resources, so you don't need as many draw supporters as you might think. Getsus is the funny hee hee ha ha. You aren't playing items this whole game, let me see how many items you have and draw equal to that. It's probably the biggest flex spot in this list, but I thought it's funny and this card is beautiful, so we're playing it. Marnie and Iono Disruptors, put items back into your opponent's deck or get rid of a supporter you know they have in hand that wins the game. That doesn't happen very often, but when it does, disruption, baby. This also functions as draw early game. And of course, this is a Torterra loop deck, so we need cards to loop the Terra. Lana's Aid. You usually grab Turtwig, Torterra, Energy. And if you have Sceptile up and Recycle Energy in hand, that is Torterra back on board with the Meganium's Quick Ripening Herb. Clara, very much the same, but you get 1 more energy this time. Or maybe you have another stage 2 you want to get back into play. Kofu, because your hand is so full of supporters and stuff, Kofu's actually not half bad. I know you guys hate it so much, but we're not playing items to thin our hand. So Kofu here actually means you can get a couple more draw in the mid to late game if you need it and you don't have Beautifly for some reason. Raihan, obviously. Power up Torterra, recycle energy, Torterra is back again. Guzma is, of course, our gust of choice, and with Torterra going down so frequently, being able to gust opponent's weak, vulnerable target into active and then go into your new, fresh from the graveyard Torterra, Guzma is absolutely fantastic. And Acerola, because we are cheeky, we are rude, you almost one-shot our Torterra, well, let's Acerola it up and use Meganium to put it back into play the same turn. Plus, we get that Luxcape that was on the Torterra and we get to put it back down. That is the deck right there. I hope you guys enjoyed learning a bit more about this cheeky little infinite item lock deck. And of course, yeah, item locks, but the whole goal of the Torterra item lock Meganium deck is Torterra, loop him, whack for huge amount of damage. You'll go behind early game, of course, but Torterra will win the game. And be sure to let me know down below what kind of decks you're interested in, GLC wise, what kind of types you're curious in, and if you wanted anything like a ranking video or something like that, be sure to let me know. I have a Discord now, join it if you wanted to. And that is it for this week's video. I'll see you guys all in next week's video. Bye!